Japanese floating island. My wife and daughter bought this on Amazon. It was $220. It's actually on sale right now for $175. I'll put a link to that down below on the Amazon affiliate link in the description. So we're going to open this up and inflate it, see how long it takes, and we'll give you an overview of what we think of it from boxed to inflated. Now obviously you want to be really careful. This is a rubber tube in here. We don't have any better opening device other than these scissors, so I'm going to be super cautious that I don't cut the tube inside. You can see this is a team lift. It requires more than one person. On the outside of the box it says Bestway CoolerZ. It weighs over 50 pounds. It does come with instructions. Looks like it comes with a bag.
It's a cooler.
Is it a cooler? Sports.
What? It's like canopy.
Plastic pieces. Now we're going to be really careful on the gravel because I would imagine the gravel could puncture this very heavy floating island. We're currently at camp. So we'll be using the Jump and Carry 660 to power a 12-volt inflator and see how long this battery pack will work to inflate the island. You can see it's got multiple inflation points throughout the island. So on this Jump and Carry, there's a 12-volt accessory port. We're just going to plug into that. We're going to take a break to grab another inflator that we carry in the boat with us to inflate the tubes for the boat. This one we got at Dunham's. You can see it was $26 at the time. And it is so slow to inflate things. It's just not worth the time waiting. So we'll try one that's a little bit faster. Okay, now we're going to continue. We'll use the OBrien inflator. Like I said, it's much faster. We keep it on the boat for inflating the tubes. Does have Boston valves, so it looks like good secure valves. There's an inner and an outer port to it, so when it's time to deflate, it looks like it'll be very fast. You can just pull the Boston valve out of the port. Obviously when it's time to inflate, you want to make sure that's pushed in the entire way. For those of you not familiar with what a Boston valve is, it's a fill and release valve. So you can see this top cap comes off and that allows you to fill it without the air coming back out. When you're done filling, you can push this whole valve down into the tube so that it's a flush surface. Then when you're ready to release the air from the valve, when you're done using the tube, you pull the top and then you pull again and the Boston valve comes out, and you can see that's just a big hole, and that allows the tube to deflate. So that's referred to as a Boston valve. Great for filling and deflating things on the water. So with this setup, inflation took about 45 minutes. And I'll show you where all those ports are and what they fill. On the front corner, this port filled the entire frame of the island. Port number 2 is this pillow. Port number 3, right here in the center, does the inside part of this section of the island. Port number 4 does this pillow or backrest. Port number 5, I believe this is where you're climbing on and off of the island because you've got the 2 handles here. So if you're in the water, you kind of have a little bit of a boost up and then grab the handles and you can pull yourself up. Port number 6 does the cup holder and armrest section. And then port number 7 is in the center of the section where the water can come up through the mesh net. So that section, you're still on the island, but you get some of the water coming up through. So this is the anchor that goes with the floating island, and we filled it with some small gravel to add the weight. And you can actually do this 2 different ways. You can use this as the anchor for the float, or it can be a dry sack for anything you want to keep dry if you're walking out there. We're going to use it as an anchor. It was about $35 on Amazon. I'll put a link to it down below. And you just pinch the top and start rolling. Let the air go out as you go. And then it's got clips on it, quick connect clips. You just connect those 2. Turn the hooks upright, and it comes with this float connection. So we'll put the carabiner through both of these clips. Then we'll untie this rope and put the float end towards the top when we attach it to the floating island. Last step before we take this down to the water, it does come with ropes that would be used as hand holds when you're pulling yourself up onto the tube. We'll also use it to attach that anchor we just showed you. So we fed it through the eyelets. I tied just a simple knot here at the end to keep it from pulling through. And then I'll go to the other side, pull it a little bit taut. Like that. I'll tie another simple knot at this end. Okay, so just some final thoughts on this flotation island and the anchor. We've used them for a week here at camp, and we had a lot of good things to say about it and a few bad things to say about it. First, in a situation where it gets windy in open water like the lake behind us, we found that you need to take the canopy off. The canopy becomes a sail and really moves this thing around. It is a large amount of space, so the wind gets underneath it to pick it up. We had a couple problems with the anchor. The hook on the anchor did not stay tied on, so in the water we had to try to maintain the island while retying the hook line. There was also a flotation on this line. And the flotation did not hold up. The other problem with this anchor, we had it in the lake where it was just about the right length to the floor of the lake for the anchor to be attached to the raft. There was a little bit of slack in the line. And this anchor is filled up, I'm gonna guess, with 50 or 60 pounds of really small gravel, almost sand. So it should have been plenty heavy enough, I thought. But it did move throughout the lake as the wind would blow the canopy on the float or blow the island itself. We found it would drag this along the bottom of the lake. So we ended up attaching the entire island to the boat so that it was part of the anchor buddy anchor system that was holding the boat in its mooring position, and that held the island and the canopy much better. Another downside to this island was the center section where you put the cooler has no drain spot in it. So when it rained a little bit at night, or if someone splashed water up onto the island, once that became full of water, it was nearly impossible to get it out. You could try to spoon it with your hand and throw it out, but it was very difficult. The island did lose some air during the week. It would be nice to be able to fill it up after a couple days, but once it's, you know, over your head in deep water out there, it's difficult to take something out to inflate it at that point. So it could have used a little bit more air after a couple days. And I imagine that's probably normal, that with all the Boston valves, they can't possibly seal perfectly the entire time. If you were in shallower water, it would be much easier to use because you could get out and refill it. It'd be easier to get in and out. The other problem with being in the lake is if you can't touch the bottom, it's difficult to pull yourself up by these handles and get up onto the island, at least for someone my age. The younger kids, maybe it's a little bit easier for them. Good things about this island: it's got a ton of space. You could fit a lot of people on this, and I like the two different sections. This section you can kind of have your feet down in the water and cool off in whatever the body of water that you're in is. I do like that there's a cooler in it. I do like that it's in the center, and if there's not water in that area, it's a great place to have drinks and snacks. I like that you can lean against these pillows. That was nice. Jennifer and I went out one day and sat here on this section and just leaned against the pillows to watch the lake. The canopy does provide nice shade, so when the canopy's on it, you can be in this section or wherever the sun is pointing that shade. Gives you nice shade on the island. These pull ropes are really helpful for maneuvering the island when you're out there in the water and when you're getting it to the water. You can see it is a pretty large thing. It takes 4 people to get this through the section of the woods here and down into the water. And it would be a great idea. We happen to have some kayak paddles with us, and they were helpful in maneuvering this in the water to the location that we wanted. And then they're also helpful if you need to move it, like we wanted to get it closer to the boat. We used those paddles to do that. So, all in all, we would recommend this. We'll put a link down below to it. As far as the anchor, we would not recommend the anchor unless you use multiple of them. I think if you use 2 or 3 of the anchors, you'd be a lot better off. But if you're in open water, you're gonna need more than just that one anchor. And like we said, it did have some flaws where the carabiner style hook did not stay attached to the rope and we had to retie it in the water. You can see after a week how much that rope is already faded, and I'm sure that's just from the water and sun, but I was surprised that in such a short time it would be all faded. And I was definitely disappointed that this foam flotation that's supposed to keep this hook end floating if it does come off of the raft was easily torn and came right off of the rope. Once we did bring the island out of the water, we went ahead and tipped it up, leaned it up so that we could wipe the entire bottom down. Since it was in a freshwater lake, it did have some slime, like seaweed slime on the bottom that wiped off very easily. It was easy to dry, and you can see it's sitting here in pretty good shape after being in the water all week, and we actually had a pretty good storm on the lake while we were here. So all in all, we're happy with it. Deflating is not going to be difficult. Like I said, these Boston valves, this first section was where we filled it, and if you just pull that thing up starts to deflate. And if you'll recall, this inflation point is actually the inflation point for the entire frame of the island. So it won't take long to get this deflated. I think it will be difficult to get this entire thing in that same box. I'm sure if you've ever taken a tube out of a box, it's always difficult to get it back into that same box. Since this corner was the primary inflation point for the entire frame, now that I have all of the Boston valves open, I'm going to start working the island, folding it this way so that all the air comes to this way, kind of like squeezing a toothpaste roll towards the end. So we've been deflating this for about 7 minutes now. Jennifer and I have worked together to roll this from the end, and it does take 2 people so that you can keep pressing the air out of it. You can still see there's some air in here that we'll need to press out. But since we're almost to the end here, we made sure that the pillow sections were deflated, and we're actually going to fold this part in on itself, and we'll keep deflating this way so that the bottom is all exposed. The first step in taking down the island was to remove the canopy, and you can see we've unfolded all these connected sections that created the canopy. There's 3 connected sections, and then pulled the entire canopy off, made sure it was dry. You can see it folds up nice and small, and these are the pieces that hold that canopy onto the side of the island. So it's important that you keep this retainer and bolt that hold that onto the island for 4 different pieces, so there's 4 of each. I'd recommend putting those into a sandwich bag or a gallon Ziploc bag, and then keeping them in the box with the island. And like you can see, this is the size of the box that we need to get that island folded back into. So this is as small as we were able to fold the 50 pounds that is the inflatable island. And you can see there's no way we'll get it back into this box. And as we read on some of the reviews online, most of the other people also could not get it in the box. So we'll probably buy a large Rubbermaid or Sterilite container to store this and all the pieces in, and then we will put this, I'm guessing, in the camper or in the boat whenever we come to camp. But this was as small as we could get it folded. Closing thoughts. We do believe this is a good purchase, especially at the sale price. If you've got a family that enjoys being in the water, and if you've got a family that will use it for an amount of time that makes it worthwhile for you. For us, it was great for the week here on vacation, and we hope to use it multiple other times camping. So for us, it was a good purchase. A reminder, here on Purple Color Life, we're doing our subscriber giveaway. Once we reach 250, 500, and 1,000 subscribers, we'll be giving those prizes away. I'll put a note down in the description below about the prizes, but at 250 and 500 subscribers, it's a $50 Amazon gift card, and at 1,000 subscribers, it's the Blackstone 17-inch griddle, which I'll put a link for right up above.